The next 5 to 10 years is going to be a fascinating time in the way that work evolves and work changes in almost all industries, but particularly in the white-collar space. So we saw a huge disruption to blue-collar jobs in the 70s and 80s. The same thing's about to happen to white-collar jobs. It doesn't matter which industry, it's really about the nature of the roles that people do. Anything that can be automated, anything that's standardized, anything that's a procedure will be replaced by a machine that learns. We've seen changes to the workplace happen before. When I started work 30 years ago, we had a typing pool. That's been replaced. We used to have tellers in banks. They've been replaced by automated teller machines. And then we've seen changes like spreadsheets, which didn't replace accountants but made them do their job differently. So this isn't the first time this has happened. What we've learned every time it's happened in the past is that you need to focus on being flexible and agile. So there are a couple of industries that are going to be severely disrupted by new ways of working. So the legal profession, the accounting profession, the tax profession, medicine, doctors. What will be fascinating will be each of those professions is based on a model of lots of junior people and a few senior people who are chosen from the ranks of the juniors. Well, we no longer need the juniors. So how do you choose the senior folk when there are no juniors to choose them from? So the whole industry, those whole industries are going to be disrupted and changed while some of the jobs disappear at the same time. I think there are two waves of this future. There's an Australian shortage of STEM workers, but there isn't a global one. There are lots of STEM workers around the globe, and much of that work can be offshored. Unfortunately, many of those tasks can be done by robots and computers better than they can be done by us. The second wave is people finding jobs that require the human skills: empathy, intuition, innovation, compassion. So organisations and people need to focus on how do I use those skills, which already exist within the workforce and will exist within me, to create new and better jobs. This is a business problem, all of society problem, rather than being just pinned down to HR. However, HR needs to find a way to be the ones that drive that change. There are two diverging theories about what the future looks like. There's a dystopian future where people won't have jobs and everyone will be paid a living wage just for being a human, and robots will create value that we use to fund that system, and a small number of people will have jobs, and an even small number will be hyper wealthy because they own the robots that create the value. That's the science fiction future. There's another future that says, actually, if a robot could do your job, then you shouldn't be doing it. It should be allowed to do it, and you should do something more creative, more interesting, that adds more value. Those are the two extremes. The likely outcome is somewhere between the two. We are struggling to predict or forecast what the future jobs will be. That doesn't mean they won't exist, it just means we don't know what they are.